Well, hey parents, this is Donnie Varney again here at halftime of game day, and we're on week number 4 in our parenting series called Make It Count. So week 1, we actually talked about the idea of what it means to make it count. Week 2, we talked about make it often. Week 3, we talked about make it happen. And now today we want to talk about make it personal, creating a culture of transparency or a culture of vulnerability. It reminds me of some advice that someone gave me early on in my coaching days when I used to coach a high school soccer team. This is what they said: coach the player, not the position. And so maybe before the game, they just need a fist bump. Maybe they need encouragement. Maybe they need a pep talk. Maybe they need all the various details of that responsibility for that position. In parenting, what we would call it is this: we need to prepare our children for the path, not work on preparing the path for our children. I realized that this was such a big deal that when we, early on in our marriage and as we were growing our family, we created these values. They're the Varney values, and there's 6 of them, and each one starts with a different letter of our last name. I have this disease of acronyms, and anyone that knows me realizes that, and so I apologize that now you're gonna have to deal with this for a minute. But the V stands for vulnerability, and then there's availability, responsibility, neighbors, eternity, and then the Y is you. And so the first one and the last one both have at the heart of it this idea of making it personal and creating a culture of transparency and a culture of vulnerability. And I get this from Matthew 12:34. It's not something I came up with. Jesus made it very clear that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so if I understand that correctly, what Jesus is saying is that we want, as parents, to understand our child's heart so that we can understand and interpret what it is that's actually coming out. And there's 3 basic ways that we can do this as parents. One is to ask heart questions. Don't ask, how was your day? Be mindful and think about what their day might have entailed. Maybe they had a test. Maybe they had practice. Maybe it was who knows what. But thinking through what their day was and starting to ask specific heart questions is going to bring about a whole nother level of transparency with our kids. The second is to admit parenting mistakes. Not a lot of explanation needed there. We all make mistakes. I make a ton. And when we do that as parents, it actually creates a safe feeling where it's like, you know what, mom and dad mess up and they actually let us know that they mess up. It's okay for me to let them know when I mess up or when I have a wrong thought. And then the third idea is this idea of identifying our child's needs. And if we don't do this, we're not able to actually solve the problems that they might have. And so understanding our child and asking those heart questions will actually lead to that third one, which is identifying their needs. Now we're going to hear from Pastor Robbie a little bit more of what it means to have transparency over time as it builds trust.
Well, a few years ago, Gene and I were introduced to a gentleman named Dr. David Ferguson. And one of the things that Dr. Ferguson teaches on as he looks through Scripture is the fact that we were created needy. You see it kind of cover to cover, that we were created needy. When you think of the needs, think of physical needs and spiritual needs and relational needs. And so relational needs are things like acceptance and approval and appreciation, attention, comfort, security. There's kind of 10 needs, if you boil it down, that every human being has. As a parent, I want to look at my kids and kind of find what those needs are individually. Many of them are common, some of them are individual as well. One of the things that we also learn about these needs is that we can't meet them ourselves. They're best met in the context of loving relationships with God and with others. Again, so as their parent, God has entrusted me to help meet these needs. One of the ways that we do this at our family is around the dinner table. So when I get home and we're sitting down to eat, one of the things we do during the time is called favorite part of the day. You could also do not so favorite part of the day, or you can call that highs and lows or happy and crappy.
I like the happy crappy. That's good.
So whatever fits your family style. So what we do is we'll take a spoon or a fork or a carrot or something like that and just spin it like a dial, and whoever it lands on gets a chance to talk about their day. So they can celebrate stuff that they've done well in school, or maybe a friend that they made or something that went well at school. So we get a chance to meet their need of attention or encouragement or support through that. Sometimes it's sharing a low point of the day. And so we'll get a chance to comfort them and meet that need in there. So through this, we hope as they get a chance to talk with each other through this, it's a family session kind of there, and everybody gets a turn, including mom and dad. We hope that this will build a culture of transparency and vulnerability, and that ultimately that builds trust, so that they're able to share with us now and then later as they get older and older, as things get more and more complex over time.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's super practical stuff. I like the happy, crappy thing. We might try that in our home. So
Absolutely.
That's really good. Well, that's it for this week in creating a culture of transparency. Thank you very much, Pastor Robbie.
Welcome.